All right, hello everyone. What's up? Jess is back with me because we are back for another live commentary of Don Bluth that you've been following. We've been doing since I guess before Christmas, and this one's going to be a bit like for me, like kind of like our Anastasia one, in that this is a movie that I've barely seen and don't remember. Even worse than Anastasia, because at least Anastasia I saw a little bit of and parts of. Like this movie, I had to go way back to being a kid and seeing it. And just I don't know. I have vague memories of being on TV like in the '90s, but beyond that, like I don't know if I ever like rented it or sat down and watched it start to finish. So there's just so much about I only have like the haziest idea of what's going on in this movie. And obviously, I had the movie beforehand, so I could have watched it in preparation. But I weighed that and thought it might be more interesting to just sort of reveal my reactions to it as it's happening. What's
I
your
think
level of familiarity with this one versus the other Bluth ones we've done?
quite the opposite, at least of you.
Right.
I think we've discussed in the last few, but I'm going to say it again. This is definitely in my top three of Bluth films, but nostalgia plays a big part of that, as it does with many things.
Right.
I didn't see it in theater, but I remember basically getting it as soon as it was on VHS,
Yeah.
late '80s or maybe even 1990.
Yeah, it might have been by
And
that time. It came out in the summer of '89, and what most people remember about it now is that it came out on the same day as Little Mermaid.
oh,
So
okay.
we've talked, of
Ooh.
course, and I won't harp on this too much because we already talked about it. But the whole thing was Bluth, and actually, what's his name? Check very quickly. Oh God, is it Anthony Goldman? And
Oh,
Gary Goldman, because Gary Goldman actually is the co-director of this movie. The first time he did that, but anyway, we talked about how Bluth and Goldman, among others, were part of an exodus. You know, they worked for Disney in the '70s, and at the end of the '70s, they left to help Bluth with his vision of his own studio, and on like a shoestring budget and working out of his garage mostly. They came up with Secret of Nim, which was like my favorite to this day, and somewhat of a modest success. But we've talked about how like some fortunate happenings, like getting involved with Steven Spielberg and Amblin to have some of that power behind it to make some movies that really did directly challenge Disney and change how Disney did things in the '80s, which was a low point for Disney, of course. And that's An American Tail, and then the movie we did most recently, its follow up, Land Before Time. Both those movies
excellent.
were really big successes, and also I think outdid the Disney movies that they went up against at the theater at the time. I mean, Black Cauldron was '85. That's a whole thing. That's almost considered like the lowest of the low point for Disney. In that the movie, while flawed, I don't think it's nearly as bad as their reputation gives it. Jay and I actually did a show on it ages ago, a movie discussion podcast mentioned, but it was actually outperformed at the box office not only by Bluth but by the Care Bears movie. So that's pretty bad. But coming to this movie, finally Disney has is caught up. This is We talked about how the Disney Renaissance, which was sort of indirectly started by Bluth's success and involvement, it sort of got going maybe at the earliest at the end of '86, and then you saw other things starting to come. But '89 is the explosion. It's the arrival, and it's the Little Mermaid, which absolutely trounced this movie at the box office, made it just somewhat of a footnote, and began again sort of a new sort of golden age for Disney. And the era I sort of grew up in, I was just the right age for this. I don't think I didn't see Little Mermaid in theaters in '89, but I saw all the rest right through the '90s, and seeing its follow up. Well, that's direct follow up because 1990 it kind of never seems to really count because it's actually a sequel. It's the sequel. It's The Rescuers Down Under, which is a sequel to a
Yeah.
movie from the '70s. But anyway, 1991, of course, the Beauty and the Beast, and '91 remains sort of like the first year of my life that the theater became like an important thing. I've talked before about obviously like when we did last one we just did, Land Before Time, like that's like I think the first like movie I saw that was like current in the theaters, because the first movie I ever saw in theaters was Disney. It was Bambi. It was a re-release in '87, but I saw after that I saw Land Before Time. But anyway, '91, I just remember late '91 I saw both Beauty and the Beast and Hook. I think that might have been like that might both have been November '91. I'm not sure, but I just remember those both had like a profound effect on me. And from that point, as a kid going forward, it was a big deal to catch these Disney movies in theaters while I could, and of course other things too. Hook, of course, introducing me to Robin Williams, the great talent. But so '89, this movie again it was sort of definitely overshadowed by the Disney offering The Little Mermaid. I grew up in elementary and kids quoting it and singing the songs and all that, whereas this movie did not get talked about or mentioned at all. At some point, I did become aware of it. I think it did come on TV sometimes in the 90s, but I don't know how much I actually watched. My memory of it is spotty. But you've seen it quite a bit, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was singing the songs by myself.
Yeah, I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember any of the songs. So this will be interesting we get into. And not to draw things out much longer, but also Dom DeLuise is back. I was so glad that he was gone, but he's back. Again, I don't dislike Dom DeLuise. I just always find he seems to drag these movies down because he's so silly. But I've heard like the chemistry between him and Burt Reynolds is supposed to be pretty good because they actually did movies before anyway. They had done movies together before this.
Yeah.
And they actually asked Bluth if they could record their dialogue together, which is not usually done in Western animation. Usually it's done separately, just so they could riff off each other. And they acquiesced and said, yeah, it was for the better because these guys know each other. So looking forward to that.
Good.
And there's some other stuff that we can get into as we get the movie going. So we've got it right up to, we have different versions sort of. So we bypassed the studio logos and things like that. Oh, nice. That includes 2, which is
which I'll never probably watch. It was awful.
Not directed by Bluth. Bluth never did any.
And this
sequels.
$5 at Walmart. So this isn't even like an old nice version with any extras. It's just the standard DVDs.
Yeah.
But 2 discs.
Well, that's better. I hate it when they cram 2 movies onto 1 disc. Even when they're
too.
short little movies like this, I feel like movies deserve their own disc at the very least, even if you're doing a bare bones thing. But anyway, so because of that, we skipped the logo, studio logos and things. So we start right where it says Goldcrest Presents. So if anybody watching this now or sometime in the future wanted to sync up with us, that's where we're going to begin. So I will do a countdown from 3, 2, 1, and then go, and we will get into All Dogs Go to Heaven from 1989. So ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, press play. Check my volume. I mean, this movie has some sort of heavy themes in it, I think. I mean, death, obviously.
Very much so, yeah.
And I heard that there were certain scenes that were cut a little or toned down because they were considered maybe a little too scary. And that's interesting because one thing I was saying was like, while he did enjoy a lot of success having Spielberg and George Lucas in his corner for those 2 movies, he also felt held back because they had their own notes and ideas and told him, things that he could and couldn't do. So that's why that partnership, I guess, didn't last. So this is back to sort of Bluth doing things on his own terms. So yeah, I have no memory of this opening. We got a dog digging in a mine or something, perhaps.
Oh yeah, and that's Dom's character, Itchy.
Maybe I'll put it up just a little bit so I can hear his voice. There we go. All right. This is a period piece. I think I read it takes place in like 1939 or something.
I can see that, yeah.
At least it starts that way. All right. So apparently this movie was first conceived of sometime after Secret of Nim. It was a little bit different, and at the time they didn't have the money to do it. At the time, it was something like the main character was going to be like a dog who was like a private eye or something. But anyway, that sort of came to nothing because of the state the studio was in at the time. It was an interesting location.
Oh yeah, this thing's got gambling, smoking,
all that cool stuff.
All sorts. Yes, fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I don't remember a TV series either, but when I was looking up stuff for it today, I saw stuff about it. I was like, I don't even remember that.
It was pretty awful too, guys. I didn't give anything. I mean, I gave it a chance past this first one, but nothing. The animation was always subpar in the sequels, the series.
That's for sure.
There was even a third, I think it was based off of the TV series movie, and it was All Dogs Christmas Carol.
Yes, I did hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that involves like death and redemption in a way, so you can almost see how that might work. Like that it might be less clunky than other things that become, a Christmas Carol. I mean, pretty much any kids thing has gotten some sort of a Christmas Carol adaptation.
That's true.
As I was saying the other day, one of the things in my young life, because I was talking about picking up a Don Rosa collection of Scrooge McDuck comics, was like being a kid and not realizing that Scrooge had been around for like decades. Like I thought that Scrooge had been introduced just for Disney's Christmas Carol in 1983, and then I thought they spun him off into DuckTales. It wasn't until a few years later that I realized, hell no, he's been around since the goddamn 40s.
That's right. We did talk about that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was surprised too. I always thought it was Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Because it seems like, well, that's logical. He's called Scrooge. He's a Scrooge character. They just invented him for that, but no. At the time, he was invented as a one-off character for Donald. Of course, like most like characters, his first appearance isn't much like what he would become. He wasn't the richest duck in the world. He was just a rich uncle of Donald's. And they, obviously for the Christmas Carol sort of angle, they focused on the fact that he was a miser, and he didn't like people, and he was greedy. He was drawn a lot differently too. I don't own that in English, but I actually own it in French, because at a magazine store that I live by, for a while, they were selling a magazine called Les Trésors de Picsou, Picsou being Scrooge's name in France, and they would have translated into French comics. And it was sort of a neat, cheaper way of collecting some of them, but they were out of order. They weren't like put together in like Barks collections or anything like that. But anyway, I have the one that has that. So technically, I do have that comic, but not in English. But yeah, his model's very different. All right, so some more of world building here that Bluth likes to do, like giving the animals their own sort of underground world that humans aren't aware of. I mean, we've seen it in a million things, but Barks is pretty good at it. Like, I don't even know what's going on here.
This is the casino.
Yeah, so they failed in their sort of score. They were trying to do something, and they got chased out. And now they're here. Gonna do some gambling by the looks of it.
And while I do think the animation in this movie is still, Bluth worthy, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say it's his best.
No, it's not on the level. Not on the level of, say, pretty much the other ones we did. I would say. I'd say all the other ones we did are a notch above this at least, including Anastasia.
But still worthy.
Still worthy, and it still has that endearing style.
Yes.
Okay, so we see here Itchy's got a vest. So it's funny, back when we did Land Before Time, I think it was a sad enough movie that we thought maybe it's better not to talk about Judith Barcy. But I feel like we can't ignore it this time. Who's going to show up in this? So we'll wait until she comes. But
okay.
It's funny because I always thought it was sad enough whenever I would watch my favorite of these movies, Secret of Nim, because the actress who played Mrs. Brisby a few years later would commit suicide.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Which is a very sad thing. But this is just like, I'm not to compare tragedies or anything like that, but this is something just as awful, if not worse, I would say. All right, so this is another thing. This movie actually has more songs than any other Bluth ones that I'm aware of. Or at least, actually, not counting the 90s ones, because I don't know. They might have lots of songs. Because, I mean, there's about 4 songs in the American Tail. I think this movie has like 6 or 7 songs. Can't keep a good dog down. So I assume that is, that clearly is him doing his own singing voice there, Reynolds. Reynolds, of course, by the time you got to the end of the 70s, Reynolds being the rugged alpha leading man that he was, he had so much goodwill that it didn't really matter what he did. It wouldn't detract from his reputation. So I'm always amused by him in that movie, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, where he sings. His singing is so bad. I especially love the opening song in that, because it's funny, like, if people don't think about it. It's a duet between him and Dolly Parton. And they're singing a song about how they like being friends with benefits. Very modern. So, do they have an angle here for this? Are they just trying to distract everybody?
I think you might be right on that. The distraction.
Because I don't think it's like an official act. I'm going to try to pay a bit more attention to the plot here, because like I said, I don't actually know what's going on. I know he's going to die. He has to go to heaven.
Well, if I remember right, it has been a couple of years. He's the co-owner with this mob guy, Carface.
Yeah, and he's going to get betrayed by that guy. I remember that.
You know, he's the generous owner. He throws out free drinks to the customers. He wants them to have a good time and win a little every now and then, not just rip them off.
Okay, there we go. There's his sidekick, Itchy.
Yep. And then I think I could be wrong. That other dog, the Weasley-looking dog with the glasses, I think that's the voice actor Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah, Charles Nelson Riley is somebody called Killer. Yeah, that's right. Which I guess is supposed to be sort of ironic. Charles Nelson Riley, he was also in A Troll in Central Park as King Lort, who I think was a bad guy. I don't know. I didn't watch that movie. But if you want a little side thing into that, one of my favorite bits on SNL when I did watch it was when they used to do Will Ferrell doing the Inside the Actors Studio.
Yes.
Those were great. And they actually had a good one with Alec Baldwin, where Alec Baldwin came on as Charles Nelson Riley, and he mentions that. And it's very good.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite bits was Will Ferrell as what's his name?
James Lipton.
James Lipton. Yeah. That's probably my favorite like Will Ferrell impression of somebody is James Lipton. So good on that. So
yes, very
quotable. Good. But yeah, it's Alec Baldwin doing Charles Nelson Riley, who I looked up. I mean, I wouldn't know much about that kind of stuff, but he was on Love American Style, which lasted for a whole season back in like the late '60s, wow. Which was something of a more forward-thinking sort of take on the American sitcom at the time. It had a very catchy opening song. All right, so here he is, like in the back room, talking to his partner about how to run the business. Got a safe, old-time radio. But I guess, yeah, this is supposed to be like 1939 or something.
Guess I never thought about the date, but yeah, that would make sense.
I wouldn't have thought of it. It's just I was looking it up on Wikipedia, and it states it like at the start. It's 1939 New Orleans. Oh, the casino is on a riverboat. I missed that. I missed that framing shot. They're actually in a riverboat. That's very cool. You know, speaking of my trips to Disney World when I was a kid, one thing I never did, but I remember seeing it a few times, was they actually had like a big Mississippi-style old school riverboat that I remember you could go on and pretend it was like, I don't know, a Mark Twain novel or something like that. And I wasn't ever on it, but I remember seeing it going down there like man-made river or whatever.
Yep. I think the one in Disneyland is called the Mark Twain. I don't know if that's the same for the Disney World one. I've been on both. But Disney World
probably had a different name. They usually tried to give things different names, but I don't know for sure. But yeah. I remember they did have a boat that didn't move. Because I remember once, like, for like our hotel package or something included, like, we had like a complimentary breakfast on the boat. And it was sort of like a weird meet and greet with like Disney characters like Mickey and Pluto and those. So I had that was the first trip. So I was very young for that. I was like 4. So very faint memories of that. But yeah. But that was technically on a boat, but I don't think that boat moved. I think it just sat there on the dock. Okay, yeah. So they've got like a docked boat. Okay. Very cool.
I had forgotten the first casino, and this was a boat too, till now. I always remember ahead, which we'll see.
Looks like it's Mardi Gras. Or maybe they just do this every day. It's Mardi Gras. Of course,
I think you're right.
Today being Easter. Easter sort of the end of that season. Mardi Gras being the last day before Lent for all you heathens out there that don't know religious stuff.
Which, of course, some aspects of that in this film are less child for children.
Yep. Here we have some smoking.
Smoking, drinking.
Gambling.
Ah, good old days.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I guess every kid is different, but I don't remember thinking anything of this kind of stuff when I saw it as a kid. It's like, whatever. You know, didn't make me think that bulldog is smoking a cigar. Maybe I should. You know, to
Yeah,
me,
that's
it was just a prop part of the character. It's not, I don't know.
any of the vices I ever tried or did or still do are not because I saw the
Yeah,
cartoon dog smoking a cigar.
yeah. Because look at this. Like our dog seems to be completely inebriated here.
Wasted. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Which you
won't get
will
away
find
with
in
that
Disney. Of
today.
course, you have to go far enough back because there's that whole scene in Dumbo where Dumbo gets wasted, right?
Oh yeah, the heffalumps and pink
Yeah.
elephants
To the
on parade.
yeah, to the point that he hallucinates. It's like, was he drinking absinthe? But anyway. So is he setting him up to kill him now? Oh yes, he is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, a very interesting, elaborate. Oh, okay. Now I wonder what his method of death would be. I was like, they have to kill him, but they don't want it to be too gruesome or violent.
And it's still pretty.
It's interesting too because when you think about some of the kinds of death you're introduced to. Hi, Jamie. Thanks so much. Same to you. Is you think about the kind of death you're introduced to in kid-friendly stuff that still has death. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, I remember this from ages ago, back when IMDb, had the message boards and stuff. I remember I was reading about the movie Over the Hedge. It's a cool movie based on the comic strip the same name. And somebody was saying, like, for like a kids movie, they found it was pretty dark for the fact that RJ, the raccoon, played by Bruce Willis, very good. Bruce Willis is underrated comedically, by the way, I have to say. But anyway, fast talking RJ. The whole thing is like he has to trick this group of animals into gathering food because he wound up losing and ruining the stash of this bear, played by that old grizzly guy Nick Nolte, right? And the whole thing is he has to come up with it, or the bear will eat it, will kill him. And some people were like, "That's pretty, rough for kids." Like I'm thinking, no, because I remember like storybooks and stuff I grew up with. It was always understood not only did animals kill other animals, but they actually ate them. I would
Yeah.
read about the wolf that would eat the rabbit and things like that. I guess that is grisly if you really think about it. But I don't know. As a kid, it didn't bother me. So
No.
okay, so straight to
Just
heaven. Here we
life.
go.
Yeah, he gets whacked by that car.
Yeah. So of course, the whole thing, all dogs go to heaven. The idea is that's just a rule to play on like how good dogs are thought of. Man's best friend. That all dogs go to heaven, even the ones that might do bad things. And he's doing what most of us do, or supposedly we might do, is like bargain and say, I can't be dead, I have to go back. They're fitting. Oh, they're getting him with all the angel trappings. He's got a robe and wings and a halo. He doesn't want any of that shit.
Nope.
Yeah, my time's not up. Oh, the normal denial. So who is this? That's not Lonnie Anderson, who's going to appear at some point.
Yeah, I think she's later on. Yeah, I'm not sure of the voice actress there.
Well, not a big role. Interesting pink dog. No one's ever allowed to go back.
Melba Moore, maybe?
I'm not sure, possibly. I have some of the cast in front of me, but I guess that's a fairly... Oh, there you go. Melba Moore. Yep. As a whippet angel who welcomes the sea dogs into heaven. There you go. She was named Annabelle in the 96 sequel. Oh, she's a more important character than I thought. She's in the sequel and the TV series, so... where she was succeeded by Babe Newworth for the role. But yes, that's Melba Moore, which is not a name that means anything to me, although probably I've seen her in something or other somewhere along the way, like most of these people.
Well, forgot to mention Carface earlier. Vic Tayback does that voice, and I can't think of exactly what he's done, but I know he's done a lot of crap.
This was his last role. I know that.
And I don't mean it was all crap, his career.
Mm-hmm. Just a lot of stuff, yeah. Oh, what's this whole thing with clocks flying around? All these timepieces.
It's kind of, I guess, I don't know, the time on their soul. It always it confused me as a kid a bit.
He's going to make some sort of argument that his time actually isn't up, that they made a mistake.
Yeah, something like that.
Another song, too.
Not one of my favorites of the songs in this, but there's plenty to choose from, like you said.
Yeah, more than I was expecting. But yeah, Vic Tayback, very prolific career.
Yes, from Alice. That's it, Jamie.
But he died shortly after this movie. Yeah, he was on TV series Alice, but I don't know that.
Mel, I think.
Well, let's see. He must be in something I know. Mostly 70s stuff. Oh, he was in Papillon. I've seen Papillon. Oh, Thunderbolt and Whitefoot. Seen that.
And
Oh, he's in the Shaggy DA. Speaking of like Disney movies, I remember the Shaggy DA.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah, the sequel to the original Shaggy Dog.
Shaggy Dog, yeah. So yeah, so here and there. I don't know if I'd recognize him if I saw him, but this was his final role. No shame in that.
No.
The great Orson Welles' final role was Unicron in the Transformers movie. So
honestly, really no shame in that, in my opinion, either.
By the way, I don't know exactly when, but I'm hoping to do that one possibly with Raiho at some point. I don't know if you'd want in or not, but that's an option. If
Sure,
it's a movie you're interested in.
Yeah,
Because that's a movie I was too young for, but if just a couple years later, it would have been the biggest thing in the world to me. And since that movie like splits the TV series, there's 2 seasons, and then the movie happens and everything changes. And for the 3rd series around Cybertron, there's all these new characters. It was very difficult as a kid watching, not knowing about the movie, because it would refer to all this stuff that happened, including Optimus Prime is dead, and I didn't know when that happened. It had to be filled in later. Because by the time I was watching Transformers, it was already reruns, but I didn't know. I'm a very young kid. All right, so he did do it. He's back. He crossed the threshold. He's back to Earth. I'm guessing he only has a limited time, though, right?
Yeah, that clock is ticking around his neck.
Yeah. So.
Hi, Orc and Dan. I don't know if you got the shout out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Charlie cheats death by stealing a gold pocket watch representing his life and winding it back. Ooh, I wish it was that easy.
I think we'd see more folks if that was that easy.
Oh, we get it. Charlie's clever. Oh, and he's right back where he... Well, that's good, too. It'd be funny if he went back to Earth and then they put him like near to like a volcano in Hawaii or something. It's like, okay, you're alive, but your life is very far away.
So I assume his soul went back to his body in enough time that he's in the body that got hit.
That's an interesting question too, right? It would have to heal the body.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if his soul goes back to like a mangled corpse that he has to drag around, but that's not this kind of movie, so
Oh, well.
And like I said, we can't question things too far, the logic in a movie like this.
I'd watch that film, though, too, if that were the case.
That's true. Okay, so Did Itchy witness the murder?
I can't.
Yep, he must have, because he knows
in the distance.
Dead. Yeah, because he knows that he should be dead. Yeah, you're a ghost. Yeah, I saw this coming. I think he must be a ghost. At least this time the character sort of fits the voice. That's one of the things is like Dom. I don't feel like Dom DeLuise's voice always matches up too well with some of the characters he plays in these movies. Like I can't picture it's really hard to picture a crow with that voice, even in a cartoon world. But this sort of dachshund character he's playing seems to work a little better.
I think the dachshund works, and I don't know if you agreed on American Tail. I thought the cat he kind of worked as too. He was kind of.
He did because of the way. Yeah, I mean, they made him a sort of big, fat, clumsy sort of cat. So fair enough. Oh, again, if I could take him out of American Tail and and whatchamacallit, Secret of Nim, I would. Like I feel like you would improve the movie by getting him out of there, but whatever. Here he seems to have a better substantial role. Like he's his best friend. Obviously he's the usual comedic relief, but he seems to serve more of a purpose here. He's his best friend and his partner. Dirty Rat kills me.
And I think he's the only actor to actually carry over to the sequels in the series. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he made it to the series, but.
And I think I said this before when we were talking about like Disney movies too. It was kind of funny that Dom DeLuise, did Oliver and Company, Disney's movie with animals about like cats and dogs in New York City. And
That's
yet Dom
right.
DeLuise actually voiced one of the only important human characters, which always sort of threw me off. That's a pretty good movie, but the first like 5 minutes of that movie, even though things get better afterwards, just slays me because it's Oliver is just this little kitten abandoned on the streets of New York, and oh my god, it's only about 5 minutes, might even be shorter, while like a Billy Joel song plays, and man, it breaks my heart. Even though everything works out, people find him, and he gets a home, and he has friends, but just those few minutes of seeing him like neglected on the streets, completely lost, it breaks my heart.
It's emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one.
But you see, Charlie here is kind of similar to like what Billy Joel played in that movie. He's sort of a street smart, wise guy with an angle. It's a very popular sort of character in the 80s and 90s, I think. So he has some sort of plan here that I missed out on.
Think, going back on memory, I think they got to rob Carface to start their own casino. Something like that.
Yeah, they're plotting revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to find the girl because Carface kidnapped the girl. Okay, here we go. Quite an ambitious dog to kidnap a human girl.
Kidnap, rescue. Oh, you're thinking of Carface.
Yeah. That he's the one. That's how they find the girl. Carface had kidnapped her, as we're going to see. What are we looking at here? Oh, yeah, there she is. She's all dressed up in rags. So, of course, this girl stole everyone's hearts when she was the Ducky character.
Yep.
And this, wow, tragically, it seemed like she would have a bright future as like a child actress. Certainly a very great attitude and memorable voice for as long as that lasts. But she died. She died
Tragically.
She died before this movie was finished. She was murdered. I think she and her mother were both murdered, weren't they?
Yep.
Was it her biological father?
By her biological father, and supposedly, from what you can read, the mother was finally trying to actually get away from him.
Yeah.
He was abusive to both of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember reading about it afterwards, and I didn't want to, but
yeah,
it's just so sad.
Awful. And what a career in a short amount of time for this young girl too. Like you said, she had a bright future, and
yeah, I think so. I mean, if she chose to stick with it, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I mean, obviously a pretty good talent, because it's really hard doing this kind of stuff when you're young.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm too hard on kid actors for their performances. I know I am, but they get better.
They do. And there are those rare gems that it's like, oh, that kid is. I don't feel like that kid's acting. It works.
Like, I love Jennifer Connelly. She's one of my favorite actresses, and I love Labyrinth, but she's terrible in Labyrinth. Her acting in Labyrinth is bad, but I don't mind. I can get past it because I love her. I love Labyrinth, and she went on to become a very good actress.
Good.
Plus, even some of the ones that are good, it's a very difficult thing to make that jump from child actor to adult. They don't all make it.
It's true. But man, she had like the Bluth films that we just talked about. She was in Jaws: The Revenge. She did a lot of different sitcom appearances. TV.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've probably seen her in person. I just don't remember. I see a picture of her here. And that was the thing. She was 10 when she died, but she looked younger.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a medical condition or what, or she was just a young-looking kid. I mean, I was young-looking too. But so as she got older, she still played like younger kids because she looked younger. She was very small and young-looking. Yeah, by the time she started fourth grade, Barthy was earning an estimated $100,000 per year, which is equivalent to $229,000 in 2021, which helped her family buy a 3-bedroom house in West Hills, LA. Yeah, short for age, stood 3'8" at age 10. She began receiving hormone injections at UCLA to encourage her growth. Yeah, so obviously
something.
So even I won't get into the details here, but yeah, you're right. But yeah, very pretty. I mean, for how young she was, she did get into a lot of stuff. You're right.
And tragic, and you out there watching, if you do want to know, you can easily go look it up, read about it. Yeah. It's very sad though.
The last two things she did was she did The Land Before Time, and she did this. So her last two things were voice work for Bluth movies. But before that, she'd done lots of stuff like live action, small roles, but still, yeah. I think it seems clear to me that, yeah, I mean, especially when they talk about the money she was earning and things, that she would have moved on to even bigger and better things. Really sad. But again, regardless of career or anything, of course, it's just awful, you know, a young girl and her mother to be killed. So what have we got here? Wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
When I ignore it for a little while, it's confusing to understand why the dog has its own, like, car in front of a movie screen, but I'm sure there's some reason for it. Obviously, he's some sort of collector. I get that.
Yeah, that gag I don't know.
Dog dance. Yeah,
he's car face. He likes cars, I guess.
He likes cars.
He wishes he could drive them for real.
Yeah, which explains why his method of murder, right? Yeah, he kills Charlie with a car, which is how so many dogs die. Hit by cars. All right, so they decide we have to save this kid to get her out of there. So they do. What's funny is the kid almost looks like a kid version of Snow White from the Disney version of Snow White.
Yeah.
Look at her color scheme, and look at her blue eyes and black hair. It's almost like they're like, "Hey, let's just do a kid version of Snow White."
It really, I never thought of that.
Did they do this to piss Disney off?
Maybe so. It really does.
Because look, she's got the white shoulders, the blue, and then
skirt.
the black, brighter blue sash and the skirt. Like that seems very deliberate to me.
And the haircut.
Yeah, it's like it's a kid version of Snow White.
Rosy cheeks.
Ooh, War and Peace. That's pretty heavy reading for a kid. I can make that claim. I've read War and Peace. It is a slog. I've also read Crime and Punishment because I'm insane.
Oof.
I would say that Crime and Punishment is a little bit easier. War and Peace has long digressions that don't seem to have anything to do with anything.
I know of both, but haven't made it through either.
I was fascinated with War and Peace from a young age because it was part of Charlie Brown's reading assignment over Christmas in Charlie Brown's New Year, the New Year special, the lesser-known New Year special from 1988. Which I love that. I'm a big fan of the Charlie Brown specials. Like I think like it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Christmas one are both perfection. I think they are at the very top of Christmas specials, and I watch them every year. But
awesome.
Lesser known, not the same level, but I love is I think it's from the late 80s, might be 88, is the Charlie Brown New Year, because it's one of the most depressing things you'll ever watch, packed into like 25 minutes. It's incredible. It's just him like striking out with the girl, Linus getting pissed off at him having to literally drag around a copy of War and Peace, which he's supposed to read to do an assignment of, and then like messing up the assignment and getting a bad grade. Like the whole thing is just everything's just raining shit on Charlie Brown. And there's like to emphasize like that there's like this depressing like Russian music that plays throughout it. It's hilarious. I haven't actually seen it in a few years because although I do own a Peanuts collection of specials, it doesn't include anything from that late period. So, but I just remember it really well.
That's one I don't remember, and
it also features a scene where they're getting ready to do a New Year's party, and I can't remember what kid it is, but they tell one kid to blow up balloons, and every time he blows up a balloon, it comes out like a cube or square, which I always thought was a very funny gag. They're like, "How are you doing that? Just blow it normally," and he kept making square balloons. But yes, I would recommend anybody to seek that out because it's a short special like all Charlie Browns, but it's so depressing. And that always kind of impressed me as a kid. I was like, wow, like the humor they're going for here is just like everything sucks. Like you try your best and it blows up in your face. And I mean, I get it. Charlie Brown's supposed to be a hard luck character, right?
I was going to say he can get pretty dark sometimes.
But most of them end on like a happier note. Like think about them all singing at the end, "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown." They're like, "Oh, you know what? The tree's not so bad," and all that shit. But like, there's no like happy note for the for the other one. It's just like, well, back to the grind. Everything sucks.
Oh man.
Okay, this scene here in the car, I kind of remember this as a kid. I can remember vaguely watching this, him and the kid in the car. I think she's supposed to be going to sleep. He wants her to just
I
go to
don't know
sleep,
what
and
it
she
is
keeps
about it,
talking.
but this is the scene I remember the most about this always.
That's what I remember. Like, yeah. Looks like it's ending here, but yeah, the whole thing is he wants her to go to sleep, and she keeps talking. Oh, no, she has to go to the bathroom. Of course, that's true.
Yes.
That's what kids have a knack for, having to go to the bathroom at the most inconvenient time.
There's truth to it. There's definitely truth to it. Jamie remembers the Charlie Brown New Year's special.
Yeah. But, like, the War and Peace was so big and heavy, he, like, lugged it around in, like, a wagon or something, I think. Like, it was really, like, again, it was really about, like, existential, like, anguish. Like, he's literally carrying this heavy book, like, as a burden on his back. He's dragging it around. And everyone's talking about New Year's and how great it's going to be. And he's worried about this assignment. And he also has the crush on the little red-haired girl, and that's not going to work out. And there's also the whole thing where Peppermint Patty is constantly hinting that she wants him to be, like, her date. And he just keeps putting her off, and that, blows up in his face, too. She gets really pissed at him at the end, too. She really chews him out.
Poor Chuck.
Yeah. As most people say, it all worked out for the best as Peppermint Patty found herself and realized she was gay.
Oh, what's her little friend's name?
Oh, Lucy? Lacey? No.
No, Lucy was the...
Yeah, Lucy.
Gosh.
I know, one who called her sir.
Yeah. Was it Marcy?
Somebody was named Marcy.
Yeah.
It could be her. There definitely was a Marcy. What I always thought was interesting was that there was a character called Violet that always dressed in orange. Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, most of these characters are supposed to be like stereotypes, and he's like, Pigpen, he's full of dirt and things like that. But you name a character Violet, and she always dresses in orange. I thought that was interesting. Oh, that horse is terrifying. Yeah, I'm not really sold on the cartoony look of these horses. They're kind of scary with their lips and such.
Well, and that one particular isn't very realistic.
Okay, so this is interesting too. I remember this too. Even though they're horses, Grand Chahi, yes, this is right. Like, she has this thing where she can talk to them and she knows how to bet on them. Yep. Right. Okay. Isn't that weird though that the dogs can't talk to the horse? Like, they just make up the rules. It's like it's an animal world and animals can talk to each other, but apparently the dogs can't understand the horses, but this little girl can. Yeah. So she can
understand multiple animals, yeah, but they can't.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Well, it makes sense. Yeah, we take for granted she understands the dogs. But it's considered like an interesting talent that she even has the patch. Okay, yeah, that's that's them trolling Disney. Obviously. It's like, here's Snow White, but not really. It's legally defensible. All right. So the whole thing, of course, is first, it's like, I don't care about any kid. I'm going to use this kid to help me. I don't care about reuniting her with her parents. That's a good-looking couple. That usually means that is the parents, but who knows? In most of these animated things, like, good-looking equals good and bad-looking equals bad.
Which, of course, is not the reality, but...
It's not a good message, really, to teach kids, but it's what we see in all sorts of things. And you see it even in, like, more, like, mature stuff. Like, I've been getting back into... I've plunged myself back into Tolkien's Legendarium and all the Lord of the Rings stuff again. And, I mean, it's prevalent in that, too. The thing I think funniest about that, though, is I wonder, like, did Tolkien think, like, being tall was, like, awesome or something? Because that was, like, usually one of his favorite things to say, not just about the elves, but when he talked about the Dunedain, like, the best version of men, like the race that Aragorn is distantly descended from, but they used to exist and they all got wiped out. They were on this island, but anyway, was that they were super tall. Like, they were way taller than people are now. Like, I was like, wow, you really like tall people, huh? Like, you weren't. Tolkien wasn't tall, so, but he literally looked up to tall people because he seemed to think that was very virtuous. You can talk about people being handsome and fair and talented and wise, but they were tall. That was an important part of it. So fair elves and tall things, but evil orcs because they're ugly.
Yes.
I've noticed that this movie does a lot of those interesting wipes from scene to scene that was not present in the other Bluth movies. They just did a transition there and went whoop, and there was another one where it went into like a square. Not the Star Wars full wipe, but like kind of like wipes you can do. Like sometimes I do them when I make videos on iMovie. All right, so and here's this bit. This is I remember this too. Grand Chahi to win. Yeah, I've seen this scene too. I remember this very well too. But I mean, this is a bit that's in a lot of stuff too.
It really is.
In this case, it's a kid and two dogs pretending to be an adult with the trench coat. I like it almost looks like it's not a pirate hat, but the brim is up. It makes it look like a pirate hat. Good news is when you place bets, people don't look at your legs. Ice cream. Since 1939, horse racing is pretty big.
Heck yeah, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I remember, I think it was like in 2015 or something like that. It was Floyd Mayweather was going to have one of his like last fights. And it was like May or something. And it was like the same time like the Kentucky Derby was going to happen. And everyone was like, is this like the 30s? Everybody's talking about a boxing match in the Kentucky Derby. You know? Not that people don't care about boxing now, but like you said, there's just so much more stuff going on now. But back then, this is an interesting race. Every horse. Oh, I remember this too. The horses don't even take it seriously. That's the joke. They just decide who's going to win before.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. Like the jockeys don't know. The jockeys are like, "Come on," and the horses are just talking, saying, "Oh,
doing their thing."
Oh, that's why it's his birthday, so they're going to win. Oh, right. So I've seen more of this than I thought. Because remember, that whole thing. It's like, you need to slow down. It's his birthday. You have to let him win on his birthday. Okay, yeah.
Oh, terribly sorry.
Yeah.
Let me help him.
Well, they go pretty far here.
Yeah.
He's got like a dunce cap on.
That was almost like a 1930s Disney moment there.
Yeah. Maria. Okay.
Wonder if at moments they thought, "Oh man, we're getting too dark here. We got to remember this is a family film. Let's do something goofy."
There's another circle wipe. Oh, now we get a montage of her talking to various animals and them winning for her. The green frog beats the blue frogs. I don't really remember blue frogs, but okay. Yeah, they got a good thing going here with her. She's a secret weapon as long as you're betting on animal-related things.
Yup. Making some
Which
money.
there was a lot of back in the day, apparently. Turtle racing. Wow, they've even got those flower things for the turtles. Kangaroo boxing, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
That kangaroo won by kicking, though. So it's not kangaroo boxing, it's like kangaroo kickboxing. But she's sad. It's fun making money, but she wants her parents. Oh, they want to cheer her up and get her some nice clothes. She looks like Dolly Parton or something. We'll sing the Good Ship Lollipop. Speaking of child stars, that was her era. Who did I say? Did I say Dolly Parton? Shit, that's what I was talking about. But you know what I mean. Fuck.
Shirley Temple?
Shirley Temple, thank you. I said Dolly Parton. You're talking about her. But yeah, Shirley Temple, Good Ship Lollipop, yeah. She was kind of done up like Shirley Temple there. I'm sure that was on purpose.
Well, thankfully, from what I know, Shirley Temple was not a tragic childhood story. One of the few.
I mean, it had its moments, like a lot of these things with fame, pressure and stuff. But yeah, nothing too awful. Not like, say, around the same time, like Judy Garland, who was getting abused big time by her mom. Poor Judy Garland.
Yeah, that's another tragic story. smacking her around, giving her drugs.
The one that really pisses me off back in the day, and he actually made a pretty successful segue into adulthood by being like, instead of turning into like a leading man, by being like a weird sort of character actor, is Mickey Rooney, of course.
Yes.
Like, it's hard to believe when you look at Mickey Rooney and like when he, at the height of his fame, like he was just this little goofy looking guy. And, like he like slept with every A-list actress of the time. He had 10 kids, wanted nothing to do with any of them, just, did whatever he wanted. His tragedy came at the end of his life. The last 20-some years of his life was horrific elder abuse, where, like, whatever, I can't remember which relatives, but they trotted him around and squeezed everything they could out of him and controlled him. It really made me mad. I remember reading a really long article about a few years ago. I didn't know, They're, like, trotting him out to county fairs and everything just to use his name so they can get money. And he's old and in not good health. Like, it made me mad.
Yeah, and for being such an icon.
He was not a perfect person for sure. We see he was flawed, but he did not deserve to be treated like that, especially with people that were supposed to be his family.
Yeah.
Apparently, towards the end of his life, Stan Lee, despite everything looking great, like on the outside, the success of these big Marvel movies and everything, but like I think the last few years of Stan Lee's life was a little bit like that. The wrong people trying to control him and things like that. It's just so upsetting. Luckily for him, it was like a shorter period. Might have only been 3 or 4 years, but still.
And not that money means, too much in that situation, but I think Stan Lee was financially better off than Mickey Rooney.
Yeah. I mean, he absolutely was.
Mickey maybe had a few $1,000 in his bank account. And...
Oh, they got him. Now we've got an elaborate death trap. Or no?
No, that's
he's plotting. Okay, he's just plotting.
Yeah.
He knows he's alive now. Oh, okay, this is his own friend. He's not looking at it.
Testing it out.
Wait a second, you gotta get a gun? Oh, he's got like piranhas. That's very stock villain. Now he says he has a gun, so he'll let him up. It's like, well, we can just shoot him with a gun. A Flash Gordon to thermo-atomic ray gun? Oh, that's too good. He believes him, too. Ray gun. Wow, 39. Is Flash Gordon that old? I know it's old.
Yeah.
Then again, it was a radio program at the time, yeah. Because I'm thinking of, like, the earliest stuff, like... But, yeah, he was at least a radio program in the 30s. Oh, speaking of radio programs, they're talking about The Shadow? The Shadow knows. Now they're saying The Phantom. But now we're getting our pulp things mixed up. Speaking of other live commentaries, I'd like to do, like, in the same vein as not too long ago, we did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which wasn't as bad as I remembered it to be, although it's still not very good. But, like, in that vein, like, Jay Ork and I like to do, like, kind of crappy action movies, too. But I was thinking, like, how in the 90s, maybe because of the success of something like Indiana Jones. Like, Indiana Jones was an original creation, but he was obviously very much based on those pulp heroes from back in the day. Remember how, like, those pulp hero adaptations came out of the woodwork in the 90s and they were all awful? Like The Phantom and The Shadow?
Yep.
Speaking of Alec Baldwin, he played The Shadow. Like, that is an insanely bad movie that I
was going to say that. I hope you weren't going to say you liked that movie.
No,
it's so really awful.
I just want to watch it again because it's so stupid. But, yeah. And also, I remember I saw The Phantom in theaters, and it was just an empty theater. Like, as an adult, I've been to my share of empty theaters, but that was more because I was going at weird times of day and things like that, and I liked it that way. But this was, an ordinary movie night to go out and see a movie that was current, and it was The Phantom, and nobody's in there. Feel bad for Billy Zane. Billy Zane was a really good actor. Just never. It's not like he wasn't successful, but he was never like an A-list leading man type, even though he had all the ability, I think, and looks and everything.
Yeah, I like Billy Zane. Just didn't get that right. Most
people
part.
Remember him as like a bad guy in Titanic, which really doesn't give him justice.
Oh, not at all.
I mean, horror fans, of course, will love him for Demon Knight. He's so
Demon Knight, for sure.
But another movie Jay and I covered a long time ago was Dead Calm. He's really good in that. In a sane universe, like, by now, like, it's still not too late. He's still not too old, if you ask me. He'd be Lex Luthor. Like, doesn't that seem so fucking obvious? He should have been Lex Luthor like 15 years ago at least, and he still hasn't been Lex Luthor. He's got the look and the voice.
I totally could see that. Yep.
That just seemed like a ridiculously obvious casting. They're like, no, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is a good actor. All other stuff aside, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But not a Luthor. They're like, just new direction with Jesse Eisenberg, and I won't go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, no.
People don't need to listen to Cole ramble about more comic book stuff. All right, what's going on here? Why are these puppies weird colors? He's singing another song, and the puppies are blue and green for reasons that either aren't explained or I missed.
No, you didn't miss anything, and I never really thought about it till this viewing, and I've watched this quite a bit. But the horses were different
I've missed
color.
all this. I don't know why he's hanging out with a bunch of puppies.
Because Anne-Marie, the little girl, she was thinking that he was getting greedy and no better than Carface.
Yes.
He had promised her he was raising money for poor people, basically.
Right.
So this is the dog orphanage that he takes some pizza to and treats.
I see. Did we miss his nightmare? Because I know he has a nightmare where he feels guilt, where they're gonna like send him to dog hell, actually. Which is one of the scenes. What I was talking about, like how that scene got like changed or cut or something.
I don't know if we missed that or that's later.
Yes, Jamie. I think he was the one that wore the 3D glasses things, if I'm not mistaken. I think so.
Oh, you're right.
Shades or whatever. And of course, in Back to the Future Part 2, Elijah Wood. Is it Elijah Wood?
It's at the video, the little bit part of the video game.
Yeah, but is that Elijah Wood or is that? I might be mixing my people up here. Tobey Maguire. It's one of the two.
There were two boys, and Elijah Wood was for sure in Back to the Future too.
Okay, so Tobey Maguire was a kid in something too, but I wasn't sure if it was the Elijah Wood one or the Tobey Maguire one. Hell, maybe it's both of them.
That's what I was. It might be. I'm not sure.
But yes. But yeah, Billy Zane, I still think he could be a really good Lex Luthor. Yeah, Elijah Wood. Speaking of Lord of the Rings. It's a very good Frodo, although when I read the books, it's not at all how I picture him. Still. Someday I'll get really ambitious and do a live commentary of those. It'll be 3.5 hours of me just never shutting up. Because I'm trying to fill in gaps and talk about differences between the books and stuff like that. Jamie's brave because she's agreed that hopefully we're going to embark on something similarly ambitious. We might do the Harry Potter series.
That could be a fun one too.
She could help keep me in check a little bit because I feel like I have a lot of hard opinions on Harry Potter as somebody that like I didn't grow up reading the books. I'm a bit too old to say I grew up reading them, but I was in my teens. But still, I did read them. I read the first one a year after it came out. It was published in 97. I read the first one in 98. So
I was a fortunate one on those. I watched the movies and then I read the book because I think I was 20 when the first movie came out and I hadn't read any of the books yet.
Yeah. I remember my second year of high school, the first movie hadn't come out yet, but it was coming out and it was a big deal. And I remember I was in grade 11. I was in my law class. Don't ask me why law was a subject in high school in grade 11, but it was. I was in my law class. I have no idea what got us under the discussion, but somebody was saying, about how big Harry Potter would become, and there was going to be a movie soon. They're like, has anybody here read the books? And I was the only one who had read the books at the time. Although I think that probably changed over the next little while. Oh, yeah. A lot of those people would have thought, at the time, we're too old for this. But then Harry Potter becomes this big global phenomenon. Oh, and here's our stock sad little girl singing a song of hope. That's in so many movies. This might be a good song, but I don't know. I don't know.
There's a couple in here that I really do like, but I don't think this is one of them.
Mm.
And Lonnie Anderson, I think, was, yes, the orphanage collie.
Yeah. Did she date, what's his name?
I think she was married to Burt Reynolds for
a
while.
I knew, yeah, they had a connection. I knew that. And now she was on WKRP Cincinnati, which again, too young for, but I know what it is. It has one of my favorite opening songs.
It's a great theme song.
When I was younger, I probably wouldn't want to admit it, but now I freely admit that I actually am a big fan of a lot of that like late 70s, early 80s soft rock shit. I actually like a lot of that.
Hell yeah.
younger me would have been like, no way, that's why like punk and metal came around. There were a rejection of that shit, and I like that too. But I liked a lot of that. What's funny is if you're somebody like me who's watched Family Guy for all these years and all these episodes, you'll get the feeling that either Seth MacFarlane himself or somebody else on like the writing staff was also a big fan, because those songs find their way into a lot of episodes. It's funny. Okay, so here's
your dream sequence.
Dream. It's pretty good. I'm impressed. It's going pretty freaky. This is nice animation here.
Yes.
Fires and smoke. Oh, this is cool. I like this. It's funny that I don't remember this at all. I guess I don't know. So yeah, so now he's having a dream about going to the other place. It's like, dogs go to heaven. What's he doing here? This also isn't unprecedented by Disney. There's a whole short on Pluto of a Pluto dreaming he got sent to hell.
You don't see that one often anymore.
It's like Pluto chases around this cat, and then like he dreams he goes to hell, and the cat is like the devil and torments him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it sticks with you. Yeah, so apparently that sequence was originally a bit longer and had some more stuff in it. But somebody convinced him, and this was a little different than the whole Spielberg-Lucas thing, that nobody told him he had to. It was more like they convinced him it would be better to back that off a little bit, and I guess he more or less agreed. Because, yeah, as we said, while the other two movies were very successful, he still felt a bit constrained artistically by the input of Spielberg and Lucas. Slippers. All right, yeah. So I've completely missed how she's wound up with these people. I have to fill in and see how the hell she wound up with these people.
We were chatting, but I think they went to steal the wallet. The dogs.
This is who they stole the wallet from. This is the couple, Kate and Harold.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're even going to consider adopting her. Okay.
Yeah, because at first they were like, "Oh, well, where's your parents? Let's find your parents."
I knew that they'd focused on them at the racetrack for a reason, but I missed them actually having the wallet stolen from them. I didn't see that. I was blathering on about something or other.
And I think, yeah, she went back and returned the wallet to him.
Yeah. So he's going to mess this up. Because he wants her back. He needs her for something. Or is it just because he misses her?
I think there's still a bit of the needs to use her.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's trying to guilt her here. Saying, like, yeah, you don't need me anymore, type thing. I don't want a dirty dog like me in a clean house like this.
And I do agree, Jamie, about Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I don't think they stick the landing. It's the only book I don't really like either. Is the final. In some ways, it's also the only movie that I think they actually kind of improve on the book a bit. For the most part, I think the books are way better than the movies, but I'm not really much of a fan. Having just recently read through that one, because I'd read a book, watch the movie, read a book, watch the movie, so I finally just got through that. So yeah, Deathly Hallows makes a lot of decisions I don't like, but we'll save that for when that's the focus.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, they start off, yeah, they really do mature as the characters do. Get darker and more complex, and they are actually pretty well thought out, because there's a lot of stuff that is mentioned very early on that becomes important later, and things like that. Like in the very first couple paragraphs of the first book, Sirius Black actually is mentioned, but unless you have a good memory or were reading the books recently, you probably wouldn't even remember that he got mentioned by the time you start reading Prisoner of Azkaban. But he's one of the first characters who's name checked in the entire series. Oh, there's the gun. Oh, see, they're doing a lot of whites. They're having a lot of fun with them. I don't remember them in any other movies. Maybe it's just this one. What the hell? Did they go on a bender?
It
That's what it looks like. It looks like they're waking up after a night on the town. Did you just swallow your watch?
No, it's dangling still.
Yeah, okay. Oh, whole place is falling apart. Yeah, he's worried about the watch. I know there's a bit. Here comes the alligator stuff, which at least makes sense at this part because they're in New Orleans and they're in the water. I get it. Alligators live in that part. Like the gator.
I don't know if you would agree, but yeah, I do enjoy the alligator scene. I think that's my favorite song.
All I know is, it's sort of reputation for kind of coming out of nowhere. I mean, if people aren't familiar with the term "big-lipped alligator moment," it refers to this, and it means if you're watching a movie and suddenly something happens out of nowhere that really has nothing to do with the rest of the plot, and then just goes away and the movie continues. That's what it means. It's based on this, and the idea is like. Yeah, like this does not actually have anything to do with the plot or anything. Oh, mice? Yeah, so what? They're going to present him to a Gator King. Gator King's going to have a musical number. And they're going to escape, I would assume.
And it's fabulous. Let's make music together.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear this voice. Because, I think I mentioned before, because I use it, I was like, when I'm trashing animated films around the same time, it's Fern Gully. I think I told you how my sister and I wound up going to Fern Gully by default, because Beethoven was sold out, and Fern Gully sucked. What's also really memorable is that Tone Luke, or however you say his name, is in that movie as like a big lizard. And Tone Luke is one of those weird voices from the 90s that just popped up all over the place, and of course did the Funky Cold Medina song. So this makes me think of that lizard a bit. All right, here we go. Oh, he's just going to eat him. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Oh, he's impressed with his screaming. Okay. Who is this? That says Ken Page. He's a voodoo witch doctor too. Nice. They're hitting all the bases for like New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
And I guess in this instance they did beat Disney to it. I don't think Disney had really done anything in that setting before. I mean, The Princess and the Frog came around 2009 and had that
many moons later.
Yeah. That movie gave me such hope that they were returning to 2D animation, but it was just
me too.
False start.
And then they did one more traditional animation, Winnie the Pooh movie, which I was so disappointed on, and then they haven't done anything since that I know of.
Yeah. I still sometimes watch the official movie trailer for that Winnie the Pooh movie. It uses a great song by Keane called Somewhere Only We Know, and it fits it so well. It's very uplifting. I like it a lot. I was a big fan of Keane back in the day because they were a piano-based band. They didn't use guitar, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is quite the song. And you have to admit, like, it does feel kind of like padding. It's like the movie's already short, but we're going to stretch it out a bit. I know he'll get captured by a voodoo king singing gator, and he'll sing a song about how he likes his voice. The paddling here in the pool is a bit like Fantasia. You can remember that sequence.
Oh yeah, I do. I definitely remember that.
Fantasia still remains my favorite Disney animated film. Even though it's, not one complete story, but a series of vignettes. I think if the girl isn't too weirded out by it, she's just like... she's like, yeah, come on, over here, this seems safe. Oh god, she got pneumonia, like me.
Yeah.
Over Christmas.
So maybe
I
that's
like
part
how
of the
it went
reason.
from such a dark place into such a bright place. It was really, what you expect, but it became all bright and full of light and color. Nice. So I guess he just lets them go. Oh, we haven't seen him in a while. Itchy.
Good old Itchy. Running the bar.
There's nobody here.
Yikes.
I do think I'm not a person that dresses up animals, but I think if I had like one of those like bulldog looking, he would have to wear a bow tie because it looks so perfect.
Now that you say that.
Just a little. He'd have a collar, and I'd just have like a stick-on bow tie to put on his collar. I think that would be okay. I think that's still dignified. I don't know if I've had this talk with you before. I've had this talk with Jay a few times. Like, I believe in animals having a certain amount of dignity. Like, for instance, if people have pets and they can name them or whatever the fuck they want, but I will never give an animal, a pet, a name that you wouldn't give a child, a human. Like, I wouldn't call somebody Itchy or anything like that. I just wouldn't. I believe in giving proper names. I feel like they deserve that dignity, but people can do whatever they want with their own pets. But
I get a kick out of proper names too, with pets.
All the pets I've grown up with, independently or with my family, all have proper names. They didn't have silly nicknames or in jokes or things like that. You can go too far in the other direction too. Like if you name them after like a historic figure, like that's just annoying.
I get more kicks out of when like pets have simple names like, oh, that's Steve.
I mean, that's what I believe in, more or less. My first dog, I didn't name her. She was older than me, but my sister named her when she was a kid. Sam. My first dog was Sam. I named a good portion of our pets. But, of course, my girl died back in August. Her name was Wednesday. People always have enjoyed that.
I remember that.
They always thought it had something to do with, like, the Addams family, but it didn't. I guess that's where they were most used to hearing that as the name, Wednesday Addams. But I actually hadn't thought of that.
Which would be cool if that were even the case too.
Like I said, I mean, it's a good reference at least, It's not like I'd be embarrassed by it. But it wasn't my thinking at the time. I was just kind of names. But no, because people are free to, but I don't know. I think I always lose a little respect for people if they tell me their pet's name and it's like some, I don't know, gag name or something. I remember the worst I won't go on this because it still makes me mad, but the worst people I've ever known in my entire life. When my sister and I lived in an apartment for 2 years, the first year, some couple lived below us, no problem. The second year, this other couple, they were young. They were like 18, 19, moved in. And they're the worst people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm not kidding when I say I hope they're dead. I hope he shot her in the face and shot himself. They're the worst people. But anyway, they kept collecting animals during this time, and they named them after various forms of alcohol because they thought that was so funny.
Oh,
There's
God.
a dog called like Uzo and a cat called Saki, and they had some, I don't know. And they seemed to think that was so great. And it just made me hate them all the more. I won't get into it. Like, I didn't hate them for like just because they were annoying. Like, they were horrible, horrible people. But anyway, there's no point getting it. Plus, it would just make me angry. So what is going on here? She's feeling sick. Taken off.
I think she overheard him talking.
So Squeaker is like a nickname he has for her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it might go back to the car scene in the junkyard when they're first getting her to go to sleep.
Right.
And she's squeaking the squeaky seats.
All right. So there's Lottie Anderson.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to Jamie. I think most of our pets had proper names as well.
Well, I don't want to go on this because I don't want to like make people think like I'm judging you or I hate you or you have to justify it for some reason. I just have my own philosophy. That's all.
If you have an animal out there with a name like Rover or Twinkie, or Cole doesn't necessarily hate you.
Not necessarily.
Or Scotch.
I mean, I remember in both the book and the movie of Pet Sematary, the pet they have that comes back, his name technically was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
But they just called him Church.
Church.
So, I mean, pretty cool. I'm okay with that.
I thought that was cool, too.
I can dig it. Well, we didn't even see her get caught. We heard it off. Okay, we heard her scream off screen, so yeah, we knew something happened. This is elaborate. Suspended in a cage over the water. And she's so sick she doesn't even care. Not good.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Classical reference. You got a candy cane?
Yeah.
That's odd.
I think at the beginning, too, there's a basket in the casino in his office full of candy canes.
Yeah. Part of his character. Did Itchy come to see them? No.
Yeah.
Oh, he did? Okay. Ah, yes. Oh, he brought them all to try to tell them that she's in trouble, I guess. This makes me want to see 101 Dalmatians again. It's been a long time.
That's another one of my favorites.
I was thinking about that because recently I bought a book that's by the same author that she wrote before that. She got famous for that book, but years before she wrote a book called what is it? Is it I Capture the Castle or something like that? Anyway, I've heard about it through most of my life. I really want to read it. So.
Do you remember her name, the author? It's not Dodie something, is it?
Yeah, it's Dodie Smith.
Okay.
Pretty good. Yeah. I wasn't going to remember it without looking it up. But anyway, yeah, I Capture the Castle. Actually, it's also, not to get on this, but since it's related, apparently a big, I think it wasn't an influence because I think she read it later in life, but it's a big favorite of J.K. Rowling. Because the copy that I bought has like a blurb from Rowling on the front, which I could do without. And it's not just because of Rowling. I just don't like blurbs on my books. I've been, shouldn't surprise people that, I was a fan of the Sandman series by Neil Gaiman. So I never really owned them too properly. So they've been releasing deluxe editions of them that I've been getting. And they all have it's not a sticker, you can't take it off, but a thing talking about the series on Audible or something. And I hate it. I just wish I don't want you to do that to my cover. I just hate it when they have stuff like that on books and things now a series on Netflix. Get that off there. But all the dogs and the people running the street is kind of reminiscent of course, Lady and the Tramp. I love that sequence towards the end of Lady and the Tramp with the running in the streets and the slush and stuff.
They're chasing down the pet.
Yeah.
And
the old
dog catcher
sniffing around. It's really impressive. I mean, that's from 1955. And such good animation. I don't think I've ever seen slush done so well, in an animated film before. Not that it comes up that much. But, yeah, that's one of the big ones from my childhood. That's one, even though I haven't watched in a long time, I still know Inside Out because I watched it a ton as a kid. I think I have the VHS over there.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but The Lady and the Tramp is also another one of my. It's in the top 4 Disney movies for me too, and I think it's beautifully animated.
My sister must have wound up with that one because it's not over there. Or wait, yes, it is. It's just on. It's on the edge.
Yeah. Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, and then the more modern ones, probably Aladdin and Lion King.
This is the copy from back in the day. This isn't a copy I got later. Lady and the Tramp.
Very nice.
In pretty good condition.
I think mine is too. Maybe a little frayed on the sides.
Because my sister got most of these. So a couple of the other ones that I own, they're newer editions I got later, at secondhand or something. I've got Little Mermaid over there, but it's not the Little Mermaid that we had when I was a kid. It's just one I bought later. It's even got a different case and cover. It's not the same cover.
Doesn't have the penis on the cover.
No, it's not. It doesn't have the penis one. I guess my sister has that. Yeah. Besides the penis on the cover, remember the whole thing about how it looked like the minister or whatever who's marrying them had an erection?
Yeah.
I've investigated that. It's like his knee.
Kneecap, yeah.
But it really does. Like, if you don't know that and you just look at it, it really does look that way. It's kind of
For a
funny.
moment, maybe, but most of that stuff people had to like put into my head for me to go, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I see it.
Just like people thought, like in the Lion King, when Simba, collapses on the cliff and that stuff goes in the air. It looks like it says sex. It's supposed to be like SFX or something. It's supposed to
Yep.
like stand for some studio or something like that.
Special effects.
Yeah,
or
but people were like,
SFX.
sex. They put sex in a Disney movie. Oh my god.
Well,
Uh-oh,
in Aladdin, take off your clothes. It was take off and go.
But speaking of Aladdin, I mean, I haven't watched it on Disney Plus, but I think even before Disney Plus, on like later copies, like if you, at least in time for like the DVD release, they changed some of the lyrics in the opening song. Because there was one in the original that says like, if they don't like your face, they'll cut off your ear if you don't like their face or something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they removed that from later versions. Like, so I'm gonna check and see if that's on Disney Plus or not, because Disney Plus has been sort of known for censoring stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably not. If they did change it at any point, Disney Plus has censored a couple different things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he put the I did see that the watch got all waterlogged as he jumped in to save her. Literally risking his life in two different ways, I guess, to save her. Did he go missing? They think he's dead? Itchy seems to be acting like he thinks he's dead.
I think he was that waterlogged. I think that was the end.
Okay, this girl had like pneumonia, and they just took her out of the water. You might want to close those windows. Oh, this is getting. Uh-oh. What is coming here?
I almost forgot about this part.
This is kind of scary. Wow, he's coming as a spirit, but all the red is kind of weird. I need to double check what happened there. Yeah, apparently I missed the whole part where like his screaming, where Carface got eaten by the gator.
Well, they're not going to dwell on it in something like this, but
I was looking at something else when that happened, apparently. Yeah, so he really did die. Yeah, so that makes it a little different too. Like, he did cut to come back for a while, but he did die again, but this time to save her. That's weird though. It's like hell was gonna have him until they come back and change. So that's pretty heavy. It's like hell had his soul for a minute there, but now he's like redeemed himself and he'll go to heaven again. That's pretty heavy. You gave your life for her, so yeah. I haven't watched any dog movies in a long time. I wonder if that, they made a new Benji a few years ago. I wonder if that's any good. Benji has always been my favorite cinematic dog.
I love the old Benjis, but it's hard for me to try any of the newer stuff. I just don't think it'll be.
I loved Benji the Hunted, which is from the 80s.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite movies. Back when I had Family Channel, which is what the Disney Channel was back in the day, I watched a lot of those old school Disney movies that had like animals as main characters and humans, like there was barely any dialogue.
Incredible Journeys.
Those were like my favorite movies. I loved those. I remember watching one about a coyote that goes to like Beverly Hills, and like, the only real dialogue is there's actually like a narrator to tell us some stuff that's going on.
I was just gonna say that narration. Yep.
Yeah, there was one about a dog named Candy that got separated from its family. Like, I haven't seen it in ages, and I didn't even know how to find it again because I don't know what it's actually called. But I loved Nikki, Wild Dog of the North. That was one of my favorite movies. I adored that movie.
Nikki of the North.
Yeah. She gets separated from her owner and she makes friends with a bear. Like, I loved all that stuff. Oh yeah, so I've always loved all those dogs and things, but my favorite was always Benji. I love Benji. I used to always want to get that kind of dog. Maybe someday still. Some sort of terrier, right?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is a nice moment. This is a good movie, though.
You did enjoy this time.
Yeah, for its silliness and stuff, it's a good movie. I mean, I can tell that even having missed parts of it while I was blabbing about other things. I still feel something here. it is a pretty heavy movie for a kid, but I like that they take that risk.
I think that a lot of times was a good thing or is a good thing if you
I think
take
so
that
for
risk.
sure. I think
Kids aren't stupid.
Don't play down to them.
Exactly.
Because I mean, there's a difference between making something appropriate for kids and making sure like it's not, inappropriate or scarring. But
agreed. And
I didn't credit Dan Kuster, who was also a co-director on that. Okay, I only talked about Goldman. But I kind of feel like this is the last good Bluth movie for a long time.
I almost said that, but I wasn't sure if I missed something in the early
here to
90s.
really drive home the fact that all dogs go to heaven, here's the villain who still gets to go to heaven. Although he's trying to get out. He'll be back. Yeah, that's
and
nice.
Wink at the camera.
Yeah, I will watch this again by myself to fully appreciate it and hear the songs better. But yeah, I thought hard before we did this because I had it for a few weeks. I was like, I should just watch it first. But I thought it might be interesting to just sort of have a first watch this way and just sort of react to it. But I will give it a proper watch after this too. No, I enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
I think
it's probably good you didn't. It could have gone the other way if you watched it beforehand and if you thought it totally sucked, and then to have to turn around and do a commentary on it.
That's true. Although, I mean, if I could find some of the totally sucky ones from the 90s, I still would do them probably. So we'll monitor that situation and see how that goes.
We'll really get off topic on those, I'm sure, if we do end up doing those together.
Because they're not good. I don't think I'm not gonna rediscover any sort of love for them, but
no, I don't think so.
But no, I'm glad. Yeah. So I mean, I remembered some of it. Very, very old memories. I remembered the scene in the car, and I remember best the racetrack thing, the whole thing about the Grand Shahi or whatever his name is, and how it was his birthday, and the horses were all talking to each other, and the humans had no idea what was going on. I remember that. I probably remembered to the point where I remembered it, but didn't know it was this movie. Knew it was something. Oh fuck, Page Master. Oh man. Oh, that's a movie that I didn't see during the height of it. I watched it later.
Was that Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah. Macaulay Culkin was the biggest child star in the world, bar none at the time, and he was in tons of stuff. So that one's like, he's like real life and an animated one. I mean, the movie, you'd think I would like it because it's about trying to get kids to appreciate reading, but it just blows.
It does.
It's not good. But it would be fun too, even. I mean, there's lots of possibilities, but I'm not sure what we can do at this point. We've kind of hit an impasse with Bluth. As I said, there are, but we'll see what becomes available.
Maybe we'll surprise it down the road, but yeah, this is we've covered my favorites of Bluth.
The best ones, yeah, for sure. But no, this one is higher in my estimation than I expected.
Nice.
Like I mean, as somebody that was never that big of a fan, maybe because I missed it at the time, like unlike most people my age, like I don't have a ton of love for An American Tail. I respected it for what it is, and it's a good movie, but I could even maybe say I enjoyed this one more.
That's cool. Yeah.
Because, well, for one thing, this, unlike most Bluth movies, I didn't really find any characters annoying in this. So that's a big plus. So, like, because like I said, even in my favorite, which I think is a masterpiece, like I'm so annoyed by Don Bluth's presence in Secret of Nip. But like I thought everybody pretty much fit in here, and it was a better fit for Bluth himself. Like he was a better sort of sidekick type of comedic relief movie, but he had more substance. It seemed like he wasn't just there to like bang into things and be and all that shit that Don Bluth's characters do. I don't know.
He was a solid
After this,
character.
he become like a main character, doesn't he? Isn't he like the main character in A Troll in Central Park? Like that's him, I think. Yeah.
Now that you say that, but that's not one of my favorits either.
No, that's what I mean. It's part of the mistake. It's like, oh, let's make a movie where he's the main guy. That's a good idea.
No.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't want to slag Don Bluth because not Don Bluth. Well, Dom DeLuise because he's like sort of a comedy legend, and there's stuff I like about him. And his son is pretty cool too, from what I've heard. He had a son who acted, who did some stuff. His son was like the dad on some terrible sitcom I used to watch on Disney Channel. Because I'm trying to think, it might have been Good Luck Charlie or something like that. So a few years ago, I was dating a Chinese girl, and I don't know how she stumbled upon the show, but she liked it. I think because it was, her English was very good, but I think she liked it because it was simple and easy. So sometimes we would watch this really crappy Disney Channel sitcom called Good Luck Charlie about this wholesome family getting in stupid hijinks and stuff. Charlie was actually the baby. The idea was all about how they're trying to, it's like a running thing, like they're trying to leave like video messages for Charlie, like to help her grow up or some shit. But anyway, I think the dad in that is Dom DeLuise's son. And I mean, it's a terrible, horrible schlock, but he's pretty good in it. The best part was like it's so full of like predictable sitcom tropes that I would often predict the jokes and things before they happened. And she'd look at me, she's like, "How do you know?" I'd be like, "Because I grew up watching stuff just like this." Like in one, there's this whole thing where there's this boy where one of the little brothers, he's like, I don't know, in grade 3 or something, but he says this girl at school keeps picking on him and giving her a hard time. And I'm like, well, it's because the girl has a crush on him. And she's like, oh no. And of course, that's exactly what it turns out to be. Like, that was one of the things. And there were all sorts of lines that were really easy to predict, which she was like, how? I was like, this is what you grow up watching. If you grew up over here, you would have seen all this. This would seem like old hat to you. It was interesting, though, talking to somebody like that. In some ways, she was like a Martian. She didn't know what Star Wars was and stuff like that.
Oof.
Oh, that's nice. Did they do that? I think they did that. The Don Bluth thing, the leaf hitting. I think they did that at the end of the last one we did too, right? That was in
Land Before Time.
Land Before Time. But no, that's good. I will watch the sequel just because it's on here. Although, you know what, other sequels on here that I won't watch, which is Secret of Nim 2, which is, if you want to talk about like quality, difference in quality between an original movie and its sequel, that might be the all-time. I hate the Crow sequels, but I don't think I can hate them the way I hate Secret of Nim 2.
Oh, that's a totally different. And I think if you're talking about All Dogs too, it's going to be similar. I don't remember for sure. I watched it once when it first came out, and
what's interesting is here it says Charlie and Itchy return to Earth, but Itchy didn't die, did he? I doubt he lived.
No.
It says Charlie and Itchy return to Earth to find Gabriel's horn, whatever the hell that's about. But along the way, meet with a young boy named David who ran away from home. Yeah, so sort of formulaic. Gabriel's horn. I wonder if that's some biblical nonsense. Oh, probably.
I think, Gabriel, I don't know how truly biblical it is, but I think they're trying to pull from.
That's an archangel.
It was.
If you're talking about heaven, Gabriel's an archangel.
Yeah.
The best version of that, of course, is my favorite, and I'm not kidding, my favorite role ever by Christopher Walken, which is Gabriel in The Prophecy. I love that movie. If you're going back and looking at our old, that's one of my old first live commentaries.
Did The Prophecy?
Jay watch The Prophecy with me. I love that movie. I just have an old crappy DVD of it. I haven't watched it in a while, but that's a movie I know backwards and forwards, and I always quote. But that is honestly my favorite role by Christopher Walken. I love him as that angel. He's so great. He's so quotable. So many great lines and things. Great stuff. But anyway, not much to say in the wrap up here. It's too bad it got its ass kicked by Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid is the superior film for sure, but this movie has a lot of heart and is better than I was expecting it to be. And as I said, even among the movies that I like by him, doesn't really have any annoying characters. And as much as Anastasia is a pretty good movie, I don't think it, has the same weight as this movie, really. Even though it's grander and has the historical things to it and everything. I think this movie has some emotional heft to it, of course, because of the subject matter. I'm glad they don't shy away from death. Something kids do have to learn about, even in sort of a safer, cartoony way, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not saying, every kid, this will teach them about death. I just mean it's one thing. It's one thing that could help. I think that's one thing. I'm not going to try to give advice to parents. I'm not a parent or anything like that. I'm not fit to advise anybody. I'm just saying, but like, if you think there's ways to help kids like learn about things, like there's never just one way. So I wouldn't say like, put this on and that'll straighten everything out. But no, I think it could help.
Agree.
But no, definitely a cool movie. And I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know what I was going to think of it or how it was going to go. And
I wasn't sure either.
But
if you were going to be like, oh man, why do we have to watch that piece of shit?
Yeah. No, it's good. I put it in definitely the tier of good movies, which is easy. Like I said, I knew it wasn't not even if it wasn't going to like it wasn't going to be on the same level as some of those '90s movies he did, but it's even better than I was expecting. So that's good. I'm glad to have seen it. So it's a little unclear where the Don Bluth stuff goes from here, but it seems like if it continues, it will be something probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind doing it just for the hell of it. So we'll see what becomes available as we go forward. So thanks everybody that tuned in. This got more of an audience than I was expecting, considering I did no promotion for this.
That's cool.
I kind of didn't think about it. I probably should have, but I forgot. I didn't put anything on Twitter or tag anybody or anything like that. So I appreciate everybody that showed up, and of course to future people watching this in the future, that's always cool too. So thanks a lot for being with us, and we'll see you next time with something. And if we can't do it on Bluth for a while, there's some other animated stuff that, of course, is of interest to both of us. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks a lot, guys. And that'll do for tonight. So we'll see you when we see you. Have a good one. Happy Easter. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I don't know. Whatever.
Good night.
Happy Easter. And good night. Yeah.